friends, neighbors, and of course the YouTube comment section. What's happening? Hey, I've got a day off today, and I have some studio projects that I need to work on, which is why I have the console outboard gear background, because hey, if you don't have rack, what's the whole point of having racks if you can't take pictures in front of them? That's really all we use a console for in outboard gear in 2025, right? Almost 2026, right? Is to have cool backgrounds for your YouTube videos. So as I was booting up the studio this morning, I was perusing my YouTube comments, and someone commented on a video and said, "Hey Billy, why is road case replacement foam so expensive?" So I figured, why don't we do an Ask a Case Guy episode? So for those of you who may be wondering why I'm qualified to talk about road cases, I am a second generation case man at the LM Cases. My dad started LM Cases in 1985, and I'm 39 at this point, and I've been working there since I was 10. So I'm a second generation case man. You want to talk about road cases? I'm your guy. So I know it's probably not the most interesting topic in the history of the world. Very utilitarian thing. I feel like most people on the internet care more about this stuff than the box it goes in. But if you have road case questions as a second generation case man, happy to answer them for you. So I had a question on one of my previous Ask a Case Guy videos. Why is replacement foam so expensive? I'll go into this as deep as you guys want to, but for the sake of a very quick video, let me give you just some bullet points. And if there's anything that you have further questions on, I'm happy to take you around the shop at LM and show you the different types of foam we use and all that other kind of stuff. But I'm just pulling this video out of the air here it just seemed like it was more a topical thing than just responding to this person's comments. Foam is expensive for a couple of reasons. One, it's made out of oil. Foam is a liquid in its native state, and it is poured into molds and it expands. That's how it works. So it's made of oil. All foam is pretty much the same. We generally use about 3 different types of foam at LM. We use ester foam, ethafoam, and cross-link foam. Those are the 3 types. So we have soft, medium hard, super hard, non-abrasive. That's what it basically goes down to. I have not one piece of loose foam in this house, despite being a second generation case man, to put up in front of the camera. But like I said, if you guys have more questions on this stuff, I'm happy to take you around our shop where we have pallets of it. So what you're paying for with foam, so foam comes in 4 feet. It's 4 feet wide, and it's 10 feet long. That's how big a piece of foam is. When we buy foam, we buy it by the truckload. That's the cheapest way to buy it, is you have to buy a truck. And depending on what you're buying, it's $35,000 to $50,000 a truck. So the way it comes in is it's not palletized. So you buy a 53-foot trailer of foam, nose to tail, top to bottom. And we unload that stuff by hand and put it on carts and just wheel it around the shop. Here's why it's efficient to buy foam in that way. I mean, this is us. We're a case company. Obviously, this isn't true for you guys. Freight rates are based around steel. So if you have something that is very small, like say, for example, this coffee cup. If this coffee cup takes up a small amount of truck space and is very, very heavy, it's relatively cheap to ship for an LTL carrier. As soon as you take up a lot of truck space and it doesn't weigh a lot, it becomes very expensive to ship things. That's why road cases are very expensive to ship. Shipping has different class tiers of how your pricing works. So steel is the cheapest thing to ship. It's very, very heavy. It's very, very dense. It doesn't take up a lot of truck space. Trucks are only allowed to carry so much weight. So, you want to maximize the amount of weight for the smallest amount of truck. That's basically the very simplified logic about how freight rates and classes and all that stuff work. Foam is the worst. It's very light, and it takes up a lot of space. So most of the foam that we buy, or I should say 95% of the foam that we buy, comes in on a dedicated truck. We buy it out of truckload. So the manufacturers allow you to mix and match. So we're saying, okay, for this production schedule or this run of cases that we're doing, we need X amount of cross-link PE or whatever. And we build a truck. As soon as we can fill a truck, that's when we order foam. We order foam about once a month. That's like the LM frequency kind of thing. So we're going through about a 53-foot truck of foam about once a month, depending on how busy we are, but it usually is around that. We keep certain things in stock. So what we do when we buy foam like that is it's called nominal thickness. That means from the factory, it comes in a specific size. So that's 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch. You can buy it by what's called the bun, which is a giant, exactly what you would think. It's a giant piece of foam that's like, 4 feet tall by 4 feet wide by 10 feet long, and then you can slice it. We have machines that do that depending on the job. So what we generally try to buy is we try to buy nominal thicknesses, and then we do what's called skiving, which is a bandsaw on its side that slits foam. There's also machines called slitters if you want to look at that too, but that's basically what that stuff does. So why is replacement foam so expensive? One, it's very expensive to ship in, to process for us. It's a very expensive. The sheets are expensive because they're made out of oil. They're I can't remember. I think 1 inch or 2 inch PE is like $133 a sheet kind of thing. Like it's expensive. And that's a lot of that stuff is our cost to buy that. That's not inclusive of the inbound freight. The other thing is, going back to the nominal thicknesses, if you need an 1.5 inch piece of foam, we have to take it and we have to skive it down. So that's another labor process. So when we build Pelican cases, as an example, what we do is we use something called a foam insert. So basically what that means is it's a bunch of different layers stacked up. They're drafted on the side so that they fit into a Pelican case, and then it's glued into a case. So when we do that kind of stuff, it could be various levels. It could be a 1/2 inch bottom, 1 1/4 inch middle piece, 1.5 inch piece above that, and then, maybe 1 inch a piece on top of that. So to build that insert, even though the insert's only this big, you might have to skive different thicknesses of foam down to make it work. The other thing is when we weld foam, which is basically you're taking it and putting it on a very hot plate and melting it just slightly and then sticking it together. That's a little bit more efficient than glue. It's certainly a lot stronger than glue, but that melts off about 1/4 inch. So for certain things that are high volume, when we use a welder, because the welder that we own is an automated welder, so it basically has some big needles in it, and it takes foam and it melts it and it stacks it like you're doing this, and it can do up to a couple of them at a time. So when you buy things from us like Pelican cases with inserts in them, rack drawers with mic inserts or clear inserts or any of that kind of stuff, we do it on the welder so that we can build a few of them at a time, so it's efficient. When you do that, sometimes it melts up to 1/4 inch off that foam. So we have to skive, say, if we need a 2 inch piece of foam, it needs to be a 2 1/4 inch piece of foam, which is not a nominal thickness, so there's labor associated with that. So with all of that, breaking it down, foam's expensive to bring in. The product is expensive because it's made out of oil. There's a bit of labor associated with physically moving it around and cutting it and fabricating it and all that kind of stuff. The other thing is engineering. So if you say, hey, Billy, I have my own Pelican 1450 case and I want your Avalon U5 insert. It's like, okay, that's totally fine. If we have the design on file, I'll sell you the insert. It's no problem. It's like $50 or $60. It's no big deal, right? Oftentimes the custom inserts are around the same cost as pick and pluck. Obviously they're a little bit more, but it's just a little bit more efficient. So the bad thing is if I don't have that on file, I have to pay an engineer to figure that out. So the foam, even though it's this big or so, it's going to cost me $100 or so in engineering time to pay an engineer to figure that out, because we don't cut anything by hand at LM. Everything is done on one of a few CNC machines. So I have to pay an engineer to design it in CAD. I have to pay, there's a secondary process that is called a post-processor software that basically gets it from CAD in a machine code that the machine can use. So that's an expense. And then to physically ship it, you have the same issues of the inbound freight is also on the outbound side of things. So I hope that answers your question in a quick 10-minute ranty video about why foam is expensive. Freight, the cost of handling, the cost of fabrication. So, and and if you think about it like this, even if you want something that's not fabricated, if you want to buy raw sheet stock from LM, that's no problem. We have to roll it for you. That's basically the way to do it. It's like you take that 10-foot piece of foam, you roll it up, and you stick it in a big box, which will go UPS. It's no problem, but it's huge. So, or we can cut it for you, but it's, it starts to get into Home Depot rules where there's no project cuts. I can rip it in half, you know what I mean? So we can put it in a box, but, it's just expensive. So, if you want, let me give you some background stuff. If you live close to Youngstown, Ohio, there is a wholesale consignment place called Star Supply that is very close to our shop that we send a lot of our scrap wood and foam to. They buy it from us. So if you want scrap foam for a road case project that you're working on, Google Star Supply. You can also send me an email. I'll give you my LM email. It's billy@lmcases.com. You can send me an email if you're looking for something. And I'll help you the best I can. But, it does get to the point of diminished return, so I can only do so much based on all of the shipping information and everything like that. So, go with caution on that kind of stuff. So again, I'm talking too long and not giving you enough props. I'm very sorry about that. But if you have any questions, shoot me an email, billy@lmcases.com. If you want to dive more into this topic, I'm happy to show you guys under the hood. I do think there's a lot of I say it all the time. Road cases look exactly the same on the internet. So if you look at a case from us, there's a work box from us is $3,500. A work box from another case company is $1,000. It's like, what's going on, Billy? How many Ferraris do you own with that? It's like, I assure you, the case guys are not wealthy people unless the other ones are. I don't know any other case guys. I'm the only case guy that I know. So, I enough to say, hey man, how much money do you make? I don't think any of us are making a ton of money. Road cases are very labor expensive. They're very labor intensive to build. It's not that the parts are expensive. A latch is $8 or $9. Like, I understand why you guys are like, I don't understand why this is so expensive. I can buy a latch from Penn for $10. It's like, yes, you can, but the design side of things takes a long time, and then to have all the tools and all that other kind of stuff. But we're already rambling into another topic. If you have another topic that you'd like to talk about that is road case related or any other related things, I am happy to chat. Just shoot me an email. If you want to talk about case stuff, send it to my LM account, billy@lmcases.com. If you want to talk about audio stuff, I am just billy@billylaguardia.com. So anyway, that wraps this riveting video on foam. Hope you guys have a good day. Catch you guys on the next one. See ya. Bye.